Welcome back to the Papa Schro Knows podcast. Your boy Papa Schro is back here on this Monday, and UFC 317 over the weekend. The Cardinals get a big sweep over the weekend as well, and we are that much closer to Chiefs training camp and camps opening up all around the NFL. So a pretty good weekend. We are leading into July finally. If you enjoy the content, make sure you smash that like button on the podcast, smash the subscribe button, and hit that bell notification to stay notified. As I went live on Saturday night right before the fights. I'm going to try to continue to do that before each, at least pay-per-view, UFC 317 over the weekend. We saw Ilia Topuria take home the lightweight title in devastating fashion against Charles Oliveira, and that's first thing on the docket today to talk about. Ilia Topuria becomes I guess I don't want to call him double champ because we already have a 145-pound champion once again, but, obviously not simultaneously, but he does get that double champ status. And as of right now, I'm recording this Sunday night, Ilia Topuria, number 3 in the pound-for-pound rankings. I don't know if that would change. Maybe you could put him over Merab. I think you could put him over Merab for sure, actually. Not really a maybe. Ilia Topuria could definitely be over Merab. Over Islam, I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because I definitely think the argument's there to be had. Islam hasn't fought at 170 pounds yet. We haven't seen him against Jack Della Maddalena. I don't know if that fight is actually scheduled, but stay on topic with UFC 317. Ilia Topuria, absolutely wonderful performance that he put on, winning that lightweight title. Beautiful combination and sequence to end the fight with a jab to the body, going with the jab up top, broke through the guard of Charlie Oliveira, backed up, reset, kind of faked the jab. He kind of threw it, but, without full intention, and then the right hand came right behind it and finished Charles Oliveira. It was pretty tough. I mean, the dude is he's on another level right now, I think. I mean, when you look at Ilia Topuria and what he has done, obviously he's knocked out Volk, he knocked out Max Holloway, and now he's knocked out Charlie Oliveira. I think that, the body of work that he's putting together right now is, one that we can have that conversation, right? Of, is he number one pound for pound? Only time will tell, I think, with Makhachev, getting that matchup with Jack Della Maddalena. Obviously, he needs to win to keep that ranking, and we may see that fight. I think that Ilia Topuria could step up to 170. And, maybe it's just I watched him do what he did on Saturday night, and that's how I'm basically feeling about Ilia Topuria. But I do think that he, much like Conor McGregor, I mean, we saw McGregor go from featherweight to lightweight to welterweight. I think we could see that with Ilia Topuria as well, because I think he's more well-rounded. I mean, even on the ground, in the ground game, Ilia Topuria looked really good. He stuffed a takedown that Charles Oliveira went for, was able to kind of turn him around, got top position, got into side control, went for the crucifix position, and then they ended up scrambling back to their feet. And then Topuria pretty much finishes him off from there. I think it was with 2 minutes and 27 seconds into the opening round. And he called it. I mean, he called his shot. So a lot like Mystic Mac back in the day, I do think that the UFC, and mind you, on YouTube, they posted the knockout. And, if you know anything about the UFC and how they operate, they're really holding on tight to anything from a pay-per-view, and they're going to make you pay for it. You want to go and you want to see it right now, you got to pay for it. They put this out on their YouTube channel immediately afterwards. I think I didn't see it till the next day, but pretty much immediately after, which is absolutely insane. But they're trying to make a star, and they have one. I don't think this isn't Sean O'Malley, where Sean O'Malley is kind of manufactured. And remember, they did the same thing with Sean O'Malley. If you recall, they put the knockout of Aljamain Sterling on YouTube immediately after the fight, trying to really drive up that engagement, drive up people seeing what happened. I think there's a video of it on Twitter pretty much immediately after the fight. So I do think the UFC has a big star on their hands. And, to get Ilia Topuria to the next level, I think is maybe a matchup with Makhachev. I mean, there's some interesting matchups. Obviously, we saw Paddy Pimblett come into the octagon after the fight. Mixed feelings on that one. I think it's a big fight. I think that it's a good sell. I think that it's a good grudge match. They don't like each other. I think the fight would sell. I think a lot of people want to see Paddy Pimblett fight, and I think a lot of people want to see Ilia Topuria fight. And I think business-wise, I think that's a better fight to make than Sharukian. I know I got his name wrong. I've heard it a million times. I've hardly watched him fight, though, and, obviously the whole situation happening. Although he was there as a backup for this fight, weighed in, made weight, Dana said. So, obviously Dana was upset about the whole situation with, Paddy Pimblett getting in there and was like, who did that? I think it was all kind of orchestrated by Joe Rogan, and I think kind of what ended up happening right there, Joe kind of led to, because Ilia starts talking about him and kind of keeping it at that, just talking about him. Joe then goes on to immediately say, oh, you're talking about Paddy Pimblett. And then, Ilia doubles down because obviously he was talking about Paddy Pimblett. And then, we went from there, essentially. So they ended up getting Paddy in the cage. They have a face-off. Ilia pushes him away. And another interesting part that I saw on this, and I want to say it was an MMA On Point video, but the fact that Dana White was already in the back after, while that was going down. How quick is Dana walking to the back? Because honestly, he put the belt on him and then must have, power walked to the back to do whatever the hell he had to do before he had to talk to the media. And I do think that kind of shows what the MMA On Point video was saying. It might have been the post-fight. Why can I not think of the name of this thing that they put out after every fight that I watch after every pay-per-view? Either way, that he's kind of checked out. I think that Dana White's kind of checked out, and I agree. I think that if you've been around or watching the UFC long enough, you know that Dana is at least somewhat checked out at this point. I think that, between boxing, the power slap stuff, which I think all of us fight fans are about in the same boat with that of, man, stop throwing these power slap ads on the damn UFC cards. Stop, it's not going to happen, obviously, because Dana's, running power slap. Dana runs the UFC to a point. He's really just the top guy at this point. I feel like whoever the guy that they threw out there the last, I don't know, before that ABC card in, was it 2 weeks ago? I think Kamaru Usman and Buckley. I don't think we'd seen Dana for quite some time. Obviously, he's busy promoting the Canelo Crawford fight, but at some point, it almost feels like, all right, let's see some succession then. Let's see somebody else take over. Let's see Hunter Campbell or one of these guys like that step up and do the media. And I do think that it will be interesting to see where we go from here, because I don't think we'll never see another Dana White. I don't think. Dana is the boss, right? He's been around from the very beginning. He's been in the dark ages. Dana has a way about him and how he goes about things, the way he talks to people, talks to fighters, talks to the media alike. I just don't think we'll ever see that again. So I do think there's like an entertainment aspect of that to see how these interactions happen. Even him being upset about the Paddy Pimblett thing. I think we'll see more of a professional response. Not to say that his wasn't, necessarily professional, but you could tell he was visibly upset and annoyed. I don't know if any other promoter or, president, whatever, that they put in place is going to be calling coaches sport killers, as Dana White famously did to Greg Jackson when John Jones wouldn't take the Chael Sonnen fight on short notice. But I digress. Absolutely terrific, wonderful performance. Ilia Topuria showed, every level of MMA, the ground game, stand up, a little bit of clinch work in there. Absolutely terrific fight. And hats off to him. He deserves that lightweight title and all the accolades that he's got coming up. And mind you, Ilia Topuria is now, is it 17-0 or 16-0? I think he came in at 16-0. Yeah, 17-0. Now, there's been quite a few double champs. There has never been a double champ that did it all undefeated. And he has done just that. All the knockouts he has, just in general. Damon Jackson knockout. Ryan Hall. Jay Herbert, excuse me. Arm triangle of Bryce Mitchell. And Bryce Mitchell's a grappler. Josh Emmett, I mean, that dude just got a stone cold chin. I feel like the arm triangle that Topuria got on Bryce Mitchell was the first fight that I kind of paid attention to him. And then the Josh Emmett fight was the one that was like, okay, this dude is really for real. Because, I mean, he just boxed him up for 5 rounds and in an absolutely terrific performance. So, I mean, we've known what kind of level of striker this guy is. And, I mean, he's put it on display for us now against, I mean, multiple legends. 2 of the guys that are right there that could be your featherweight GOAT, essentially. In Volkanovski and Holloway. Although, I don't know. I mean, I think this is interesting because Volkanovski, after he regained the title, I saw a lot of people pretty much saying that was the solidifier of he's the GOAT. And I don't know. I think Jose Aldo still might have something to say. I think Aldo might still hold that GOAT status, at least for me, at 145 pounds. Anyways, getting off topic once again, as I tend to do here on this podcast. I like to ramble and talk through it all, right? So, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. I am planning on bringing out the film breakdowns here in the next week or so and really start delving out more and more. I've got kind of 3 in the bag. I will say Kingsley Suamantia is the next film breakdown that I will be doing and putting out on the channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified for that when it comes out. Like I said, in the next week or 2, and I want to start rolling these out a little bit more fairly quick, as we're coming up on the season. But excited for that. Excited to continue to delve into the tape. And I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers for the NFL season, or right around that time. So smash that subscribe button for me. We got a little ways to go. This one's a much bigger goal than I put on myself in this channel. The whole time I've been doing it. So very excited for the realm of possibility coming up in the next few weeks, and like I said, going live more and things like that. Enough about me. Let's keep going on down this card. Alexandre Pantoja. And if you didn't have maybe the greatest fighter of all time in Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, I mean, Pantoja's right there. Alexandre Pantoja, absolutely wonderful fight. Completely dominant. Pretty much from the opening bell. I mean, Kai Kara France really couldn't do anything. The ground game of Pantoja is absolutely terrific. And honestly, I didn't know how old he was because he's 35 now. And that's kind of surprising, especially at 125 pounds, where I feel like, a lot of those guys are extremely athletic. And we had back-to-back pretty good flyweight fights. One that was just an absolute banger. Amazing fight in Joshua Van and Brandon Royval. One of the greatest fights of all time. I mean, Dana said it. They absolutely obliterated the flyweight significant strike record, and they were in the top 10 before the 3rd round even started. I think he said they ended up going number 3 overall, most significant strikes ever landed. This whole night was just absolutely fire. UFC 317 is going to be one of those cards that I'm really going to remember for a long time after Saturday night because, unbeknownst to me, I didn't even realize I watched from the opening fight until the very end with Denez getting the win over Hines. I didn't catch that whole fight, but I caught probably about half of it somewhere in the 2nd round, and I watched to the end, or maybe the final round. Either way, some really good combos from Denez for a heavyweight. Very impressed. Jacoby Smith, I was very impressed with as well. But going back to these flyweights, Joshua Van is a problem. Absolutely terrific fighter. And he said he only started training, I think, I can't remember if he said 3 or 5 years ago. I think he said 5. But to only be training for 5 years and you put up a performance like that against the number 1 flyweight in the world, my man, you have earned yourself a title shot. And the way he fought, and I talked about this a lot. If you watched or were there on the live stream on Saturday night that I did before the main card, I harped on this a lot because I think that it's big and very easy in the UFC to get yourself moved up those ranks pretty quick. If you fight turn around often and fight quickly. And not only that, but you got to win, obviously. Getting finishes helps, which he did in his last fight. He got a TKO. He did lose by knockout in his last loss, but he's only got one loss in the UFC right now. Translates to 8-1 in the UFC currently. 15-2 overall. But I mean, just even this year, 3 times already, this man has fought. Some guys only fight 3 times a year. It is June 30th, and Joshua Van has already racked up 3 wins in 2025, and that's coming off of back-to-back wins in 2024. The loss he took last was last July. Before that, when he entered the UFC, started off June of 23. Didn't turn around until November of 23. Then fought in January of 24. Took some time off. The loss in July. Then he fights in September of 24. December of 24. March of this year. Just 3 weeks ago. June 7th. And now June 28th on Saturday. Joshua Van. All winning performances in 2025. So he has earned himself a title shot. He got the face-off with Pantoja after Pantoja won over Kai Kara-France. Now, do I feel like Joshua Van now really can stand the test that is Alexandre Pantoja? Possibly, but I think that Pantoja is going to be smarter. I think Royval, for a while, tried to strike technically with Van. And Van kind of turned it into a dogfight. Not Pantoja, but Royval went with it, and I feel like that's when he started getting ate up, because Royval couldn't figure out. I mean, Joshua Van, I think, was a little bit too fast for him, working off just the jab straight, because Royval was doing pretty good just working off the jab straight, but he was getting beat up by too many punches. And then, any moment where Joshua Van had the chance, he went in and was just throwing hooks to the body, and I mean, they were, they all meant something. They were vicious shots he was landed to the body. And, there was a couple of times where he landed like 4 or 5 of those in a row where Royval's either trying to clinch up after throwing a 1-2 or, something to that effect. Royval fought very well as well. I mean, both fighters had great fights, great performances. But, I mean, how can you not like this kid, Joshua Van? I mean, and he is only 23 years of age, I do believe. Yeah, 23 years old. Hats off to the guy. The flyweight division is starting to become slowly one of my favorite divisions in the entire UFC. I mean, to see some of the guys that they have, Royval, now Joshua Van coming up into the picture, Tatsuro Taira, Alexandre Pantoja has been an absolutely wonderful champion. Still have Brandon Moreno creeping around in there. I feel like Deiveson Figueiredo might come back to flyweight. I might be crazy on that, but I don't know if he can truly compete at 135 pounds. So a very exciting division to keep your eyes on in the very near future. I feel like Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano, I feel like that fight was kind of a throwaway fight to a point. Dariush gets the win by decision. Close fight back and forth. 2 guys that have been around for about 10 years in the UFC, a decade in, really a decade and then some, because both of them made their debut in 2014. So you look at both of those guys, and I think maybe with this win, Dariush still has an outside chance to contend for a title. I think Moicano getting his title shot against Islam was kind of a shot in the dark, and you saw what happened. There's levels to this. But to be kind of gatekeepers, and that's no disrespect to either one of these guys. They're both tremendous fighters, and both have tremendous heart. Dariush, obviously, got rocked in that first round. Close fight, and a pretty good fight. I mean, I thought it was entertaining, personally. But interesting fight, and, both of those guys went in there, and they put on a show for us fans. So, Beneil Dariush with the dub. We'll see where he goes from there. And Peyton Talbot gets the win over Felipe Lima. Now, while I was live, I talked about this, and I said that I wasn't very familiar with either one of these guys. So I went with Talbot. And now thinking back, going through my predictions, I was pretty spot on. We got the Dariush one wrong, and we got the Joshua Van one wrong. I did say that I would be rooting for Joshua Van, but I thought Royval, and to go back to that one for a minute, because Royval, I thought would give Joshua Van a level of, what am I trying to say? A veteran that was going to be able, kind of what happened early with Jacoby Smith and Nico Price, where Jacoby Smith started off on fire, had Nico Smith rocked. They come out for the second round. All of a sudden, Jacoby Smith is slowing down. Nico Price sees it, and he starts kind of working off of it. Now, he wasn't able to finish or, come back in that fight. Jacoby Smith gets the win with a rear naked choke in that second round. And was smart, took him back down and controlled the fight with his wrestling. But I thought the Joshua Van and Brandon Royval fight might be something like that, where maybe Joshua Van gets an early start, is able to fight well in the beginning, kind of gasses out, and then ends up Royval kind of takes over and wins a decision or finishes him late, something like that. But I think that might be able to be more of the thought process of him going in there to fight Pantoja, which, hey, I was wrong, UFC 317. Maybe Joshua Van is the next guy to take over at 125 pounds in the UFC. So we will see. Going to the prelims, I guess, really. I mean, all the prelims were really good. You had Terrence McKinney. I already talked about Denez getting the unanimous decision win. Jacoby Smith had a great performance as well. Then I talked about Terrence McKinney. I mean, 55 seconds, you can't do much better. He tweeted after the fight. Sorry that took so long. I thought it was funny. Retweeted it. Terrence McKinney is an interesting guy because he has all the potential in the world to possibly be, maybe not a superstar, but definitely a star in the UFC. And we'll see where that goes. And I'm going to pull up his age real quick because I'm not sure how old he is, actually. 30 years old. He don't look 30. I'll give him that. So he might. Let me retract that statement because, I mean, we'll see how he develops and where he goes, because I think he's also fighting out of the 4 Ounce Fight Club. And he's fighting out of Spokane, Washington. Interesting. I thought he trained with Joshua Van down there in Houston. But either way, amazing performance. Guillotine choke in 55 seconds. Can't do it much better. Tracy Cortez gets back in the win column over Viviane Araújo. Which I talked about this at some point, I guess. Oh, yeah, it was on the live before because that fight had already happened. But they were kind of jawing back and forth right at the end of the fight, and I'm still curious to hear what that was. I didn't really watch much of the post-fight other than Dana's stuff, so I might go back and rewatch to see if Tracy says anything about it, or Vivian, if she was interviewed at the presser, to see if she had anything to say about it. But I don't know. She was saying something right there at the end of the fight, and Tracy kind of pushed her after the bell. Seemed fine after that, but I don't know. Araújo, I don't know if she was just upset with her own performance, or if there's something Tracy was doing that upset her. I don't know. Featherweight matchup, Jose Miguel Delgado defeating Haider Amil with a vicious knockout. Not as vicious as Rodriguez in the final one, which I didn't see that one. That was while I was live. And when I flashed over, Hermanson was out. And obviously there was a little bit of controversy over that. So either way, UFC 317. If you were watching that Jake Paul fight, I feel bad for you. I went back and watched the highlights, and it was another Jake Paul fight. So I'm so sorry that you got caught up watching mid compared to this fire card. I mean, UFC 317, I don't mean to be like a promotional tool for the UFC right now, but UFC 317, that was a good card. And somewhat of a crowning of like a new superstar in the UFC that I feel like us as fight fans, and me included, all kind of fought, but knew was coming, if that makes sense. But I feel like we kind of fought against it. But these are our heroes, right? These are our legends. Volk, Holloway, especially Holloway, and now Charlie Olives. So I think we all kind of knew how that was going to go, but it's tough nonetheless. But shout out to Ilia Topuria, man. Absolutely amazing night that he had. The UFC will be back in 2 weeks, actually. No July 4th card. July 12th will be the next UFC event. That is Derek Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira in Nashville, Tennessee. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson also fighting on that card. Calvin Kattar coming back. Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis. Chidi Njokuani. That's a name I have not seen in a while. Is on the prelims of that card. That actually doesn't look like a bad card. Austin Lane is on the card as well. Mix of featherweight and heavyweight for the most part for the main card. That is going to be on ESPN. And then after that, July 19th. Again, not to sound like a promotional tool for the UFC right now, but there's a lot going on that's kind of exciting. Yeah, obviously the retirement fight for Dustin Poirier, Holloway Poirier 3. That one's gonna be bittersweet to watch, I will say. Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov, they were supposed to fight at UFC 317. They will now fight at UFC 318. There's only 4 fights for the main card right now, so I wonder if that'll get switched around, or if somebody will, if they're going to throw another fight on the card, or if somebody will get moved from the prelims up. I mean, there's actually some, I don't know. Aliskerov is on the prelims against Bruno Ferreira. Marvin Vettori, who's challenged for the middleweight title, versus Brendan Allen. Just said something about Brendan Allen up here. He was an LFA champion. Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson. I don't know if I want to see that on the main card, but it's there. 2 guys that a lot of people know. At least a lot of, hardcore MMA fans. And then you got Whitaker versus RDR after that. July's going to be a stacked month for the UFC. I think that first card is but it's always fun to watch Derek Lewis fight, right? But I'd say for the most part, that first card is kind of Then you get UFC 318. Then you get Whitaker versus RDR. Solid month in July. Tatsuro Taira going to make a return. When is that? August 2nd. So that'll be at the Apex in August. So either way, let me know your thoughts. I'm keeping it pretty much strictly MMA on this one. Kind of get a roundup. As I talked about in the beginning, the Cardinals do get, as we'll switch to baseball for a moment, the Cardinals do a great job this over the weekend. I was able to catch most of the game on Saturday. And an amazing comeback for the Cardinals, because I thought they were probably cooked after going down 6-1. They rallied back. Sonny Gray had an amazing performance over the weekend, having a complete game shutout. The Cardinals are a weird team. Very weird team right now. I do think that they may end up competing. Now, at the deadline, we're about a month out of whether the Cardinals will be buyers or sellers. I mean, I think that's an easy question to answer. I think they're definitely buyers right now. But, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how much they want to push forward to try to buy into something. Because I don't know. I mean, do you really think this team is going to contend for a title? I mean, it's possible. We've seen it. If you're a Cardinals fan, 2006, the Cardinals weren't supposed to be in the postseason. They won the World Series. 2011, the Cardinals weren't supposed to be there. Hell, they weren't even supposed to be in Game 7 until that David Freese insane play. And they ended up winning the World Series. So, I mean, you never know in baseball. I think it's easy to go on a run, get hot at the right time. But you got to have the right pieces in place as well. So I do think the Cardinals are buyers, but Helsley is an interesting one because, I mean, what is he going to command on the market money-wise? And speaking of Helsley, shout out to him, 100th career save this past week as well. But, how much money does he command? Do you want to pay it? I mean, I feel like you almost have to sell on Helsley if you're not going to keep him around long-term. Or figure out something for the next couple of years at least. What kind of contract does he want? How many years? All that good stuff. So, I don't know. If they're not at a comfortable place for Helsley to keep him around, I do think that it would be smart to just go ahead and move on from Ryan Helsley. But, that's just my 2 cents on that. Other than that, let me look at the standings exactly and see where they're at the moment for the St. Louis Cardinals. See over in the National League, 3rd place at the current moment. They're half game behind the Brewers, 2.5 behind the Cubs at 47 and 38. I mean, to be 9 games above 500 is pretty damn good, I think, right now. I do think that's pretty solid. And you look around, I mean, they're right there in the mix on the wild card, too. The Mets are in second place in the East at 48 and 37. The Padres second place in the West at 45 and 38. So these Cardinals are in a really good spot right now, I think. And I saw something that said Oliver Marmol deserves to win Manager of the Year if they somehow figure out how to get into the playoffs. And I'm not against that. I mean, look, I've been pretty critical of Ollie Marmol as well as all Cardinals fans, I think, have been over the last couple of years. But you got to give credit where it's due. And I mean, the Cardinals have done a good job. 21 and 21 on the road, 26 and 17 at home. They're right around the same clip as everybody else. But 7 and 3 in the last 10, I think, is the big one to look at. And the Cardinals have kind of been up and down, but they've done just enough to keep themselves afloat in the National League right now. And I mean, the National League has been the better league over the last couple of years. I mean, right now, it's maybe evened out a little bit more. The top teams, I think, are a little bit better than any of the middling teams, whereas, when you look at the National League, it's mostly, everybody's kind of clustered together right there. That's kind of playoff level. You got the Padres and Giants, both 45 wins. The Diamondbacks, 41. 44 for the Reds, 47 for the Brewers and Cardinals. 48 for the Mets. And then division leaders right now, the Dodgers at 53 wins, Cubs at 49, Phillies also at 49. So, look on the other side, the Tigers still the number one team in the league. Watch them play this evening. Actually, they're tied right now, 53 and 32. Both the Dodgers and the Tigers. Tigers are 5 and 5 in their last 10, while the Dodgers are 7 and 3. They faced the Royals over the weekend. The Royals actually played them pretty decent. Honestly, I didn't think they were going to score a single run over the weekend against Shohei Ohtani, but we're going to have to get EDJ back in here to talk some more baseball, especially All-Star break coming up as well, and I'll get more into that. And to move on to the last subject of the day, which I really don't have much on in the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL season. We are that much closer to the season, and I did look it up earlier, July 22nd. So we are 23 days away from training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs. July 22nd, practice at 9:15 a.m. Full team. I'm excited. Obviously, I got excited at the end of that last podcast talking about a little bit of football. But, I mean, watching all this film and getting ready to, make these breakdowns and all that, I am getting really excited and really pumped to see what we're going to see out of these Kansas City Chiefs this season. So, out of everything that I talked about today, let me know in the comments below. Is Ilia Topuria, is him and Mystic Mac, Conor McGregor, are they kind of on the same level? Is that kind of the same rise? What do you see coming, like ahead for Ilia Topuria after winning that lightweight title? Actually, are we going to see an Islam matchup at 170 pounds? I don't know, man. I'm not sold that Makhachev is necessarily going to run through Jack Della Maddalena, but we'll see. Excited for that to get closer as well. And then, over the last weekend, I dropped my video that in the last podcast on Saturday, a couple days ago. Talking about the Chiefs and their situation. Obviously, Mark Donovan sent the letter out to Kansas legislators to get those star bonds, extended, essentially. I do think that when it comes down to it, the Chiefs are just trying to get extra leverage. I think they stay at Arrowhead, and I think the Royals get out of there. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and my Cardinals fans too. Ollie Marmol, Manager of the Year? Is that really what's happening? Is that what's going to happen in the second half of 2025? Either way. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, especially if you're still here right now. It's free. It helps me out a ton. Smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. I'm trying to make the push to get to 500 subscribers by the beginning of the football season. We'll see how that goes. It's definitely a very, it's a big, what am I trying to say? That's a big jump. You know what I mean? I'm making a big goal for myself and the channel. But I believe we can do it, Just trying to build an environment, talk some sports with you guys, get some feedback and some engagement from everybody and see where you guys' head is at and what you guys think. So be on the lookout for them film breakdowns. They will be on the way, and smash that bell to stay notified whenever I go live. I'm starting to do that nowadays, go live When I do that, it'll let you know immediately. And when I drop a film breakdown, it'll let you know immediately as well. Until next time, your boy Papa Show is out of here.